Hello students. So today's topic is translators. As we have studied in my previous lecture, programming languages. So different types of programming languages, that is machine language, level language, assembly language, and high level language. So as you know, computer understands only machine language, or we can say computer understands only 0 and 1. So when we write a program in a high level language or a assembly language, we first need to translate that program into machine language or in the form of 0 and 1. So that is the job of translators. Translators translate the high level language into machine level language. So a program written in high level language is called as source code. To convert the source code into machine code, translators are needed. A translator takes a program written in source language as input and converts it into a program in target language as output. So a program written in a high level language, a translator converts that program into a machine level language or low level language. So the input to the translator is the high level language code, and it will give us the output as the machine level. It also detects and reports the error during the translation. So during the translation, it also checks the errors, the grammatical errors which we have done while programming, while writing a program, the punctuation marks, all it can check. So role of a translator are translating the high level language program into an equivalent machine language program. So it translates a high level language program into a machine level language, a low level language program, providing diagnostic messages wherever the programmer violates specification of the high level language program. So it will give us messages where we have done some errors while writing the program in the high level language. It will give us the messages about the errors where we have done something wrong while writing the program in high level language. So different types of translators. We have compiler, interpreter, linker, and assembler. These are the different types of translators. Now we will discuss them one by one. Compiler. A computer can execute only machine language program directly, hence we must convert a high level language program into its equivalent machine language program before we can execute it on a computer. So we do this translation with the help of a translator program called a compiler. So as you know, a computer can only understand the machine language program. So when we write a program in a high level language, we first need to convert it to a machine language program or in the form of 0 and 1, and then we will execute the program. A compiler is a translator program that translates a high level language program into equivalent machine language program. A compiler is so called because it compiles a set of machine language instruction for every program instruction of a high level language. So a compiler, what is the job of a compiler? A compiler, it converts the high level language program into its equivalent machine language program. So it it is called compiler because it compiles a set of instructions combined into machine level language program or high level language program or low level language program. So as shown in figure below, we can see in the figure, as shown in the figure below, input to the compiler is a high language program and its output is the equivalent machine language program. So input is the high level language, this is the input, compiler will convert it into machine language program. So the output will be a machine language program. Since high level language instructions are micro instructions, the compiler translates each high language instruction into a set of machine language instructions rather than a single machine language instruction. So it will convert a set of instructions, set of high level instructions into machine level instruction. Hence there is one to many correspondence between the high level language instruction of a source program and the machine language instruction of the equivalent object program. So it has a one to many correspondence. So what are the other jobs of a compiler? In addition to translating high level language instruction into a machine language instruction, compiler also detects and indicates certain types of errors in which program in source program automatically. So it in one job is the main job of the compiler is to convert the high level language program into machine language program. But other than the conversion of the high level language into low level language, it also detects the errors which we have done while writing the program, and it will indicate certain types of what is the error. Automatically it will indicate that what is the error and what type of error is this. So we refer to these errors as syntax error. We call these errors syntax error because we have done some error in the syntax while writing the syntax of the program. They are following. These are the types of the errors. Illegal characters, the characters we used which are not valid in our vocabulary of the high level language. Illegal combination of characters are the combination of characters which are not allowed in the grammar of the high level language which we are using. Improper sequencing of the instructions, the instructions which are not written properly, which are improper, and use of underlined variable names and the name which are not allowed. These are the types of syntax error which our compiler detects. So a compiler cannot detect logical error, it can detect grammatically or syntax error in the source program. So it cannot detect logical error. What is the meaning of logical error? For example, I have to calculate the simple interest for some amount. So what is the formula of a simple interest? The formula for simple interest is principal into rate into time divided by 100. So if I have written the wrong formula, for example, I have written principal into rate into time and I have not divided by 100, this is a logical error. Compiler will not detect these types of error. It only detects the error which we have done, a programmer has done while writing up the syntax of the program, while writing the code of the program. So this is a flow chart of a compiler. Start, edit source program, we have to write the program here. Compile source program, then we will compile the program. We will compile the program. We will check the errors, the syntax error detected, yes or no. If no syntax error, then generate object program and stop. If there are errors, then generate list of code error messages and correct those errors, then again compile. Then if there are no errors, then generate the object program and uh, stop. If again there are errors, then generate the list of the errors and correct those errors and again compile the program. So this is how our compiler works. Next is interpreter. So interpreter is another type of translator used to translate a high level language program into its equivalent machine language program. So it is also a translator which converts the high level language program into a machine language program. It takes one statement of the high level language program, translate into machine language instruction, then execute the result machine language instruction immediately. So what it does, it takes the steps one by one. It takes one instruction, converts it and executes it. It that is in case of interpreter, the translator and translation execution process alternate for each statement encountered at the high level language program. So this differs from a compiler that merely translates the entire source program into an object program and is not involved in execution. So it is different from compiler. What compiler does, it converts the whole program into the machine language program and it will not execute it. But what interpreter does, it takes instruction one by one, converts into low level language program and executes it. So this is the interpreter. The input to an interpreter is a source program, but unlike a compiler, its output is the result of the program execution instead of an object program. So what is the input of the to a interpreter? The high level language, but its output is the result of the program. It is different from compiler because the result of a compiler is the object program, but here it is result of the execution program, the final result. Linker. So what is a linker? A single program can write a small program. A single programmer can write a small program and can store it in a single source code file. However, large size software often consists of several thousand, even several millions of lines of program code. For each software, it is impractical to store its entire source code in a single file due to following reasons. So um, a single program cannot write the whole software, because we have a software of, for example, 1 lakh lines of of code in a software. So a single programmer cannot write whole program. So what it does, we will divide the software into modules, into different functions, and every programmer writes a function, a particular branch of the software. So mm, it is impractical to store its entire source code in a single file due to following reasons. What are the reasons? A large size of the file makes it very difficult to work with. When the size of the file is very high, then it is very difficult to work with. Deploying multiple programmers to work concurrently towards the development of the software for completing it within specific time becomes difficult. So if we have to complete a program in, for example, some in particular days, a single programmer cannot complete it. So we need to recompile the entire source program when we make any change in the source program, no matter how small. So if you if we have written all the program in a single file and we have to change a small thing in the source code, then we have to recompile the whole program if we write all the program in a single file. So to take care of these problems, software developers generally adopt a modular approach to develop reasonable size software. In this approach, they divide the software into functional modules and write separate source code for each module. So to overcome these problems, which I discussed earlier in the previous slide, the software developers, they have adopted a modular approach. What is a modular approach? In which they divide the software into different modules with separate source program for each module. So in modular approach of the software development, software consists of multiple source program files. We can modify and compile each source program file independent of other source program files to create a corresponding object program file. In this case, we use a program called linker to combine all the object program files of the software and convert them into final executable program, which is sometimes called as load model. So what we do in this case, we divide the software into different modules, different files. So every program works on different models. They generate the object file for their model, and later they combine all those object files and create a exe executable file, which is called linker. Hence a linker is a software that takes multiple object program files of same software and fits them together to assemble them into a software final execution form. So what is the job of the linker? It combines all the object files which the different programmers have created for their module by compiling their module and generated their object files. So a linker combines all those object files and created a executable, a final executable, a combined executable. We call that exe. So last is assembler. So a assembler can directly execute only machine language program which use numbers for representing instructions in storage location. So a computer, what does a computer do? A computer only executes the machine language program. So hence we must convert an assembly language program into its equivalent machine language program before executing it on the computer. So before executing a machine language program, we first need to convert that machine language program into the assembly language program into the machine language program. So a translator program called assembler does this translation. So assembler, what's the job of assembler? Assembler translate the assembly language program into machine language program. So assembler is the system software supplied by computer manufacturer. It translates an assembly language program into its equivalent machine language program. It is called because in addition to translating, it also assembles the machine language program in main memory of the computer and makes it easy for execution. So as shown in below, input to the assembler is a assembly language program and its output is equivalent to machine language. So what it does, assembly language program is the input to assembler, and what is the output? Output is the machine language program. So the job of the assembler is to convert the assembly language program into machine language program. This is also one-to-many reference. So this is all I have today. What we discussed today: translators, different types of translator, compiler, interpreter, assembler, and linker. So this is what I have today about translators. Thank you.